Hi, my name is Alex with Dave Tech Tutorials, and today I'm going to be talking about the difference between a task and a subtask. Agile has their definition of a task, Atlassian has their definition of a task, and this can be very confusing for users. So I'm going to be breaking down the differences between the task and the subtask and help you hopefully understand, at least walk away with a better understanding of when you should use a task versus when you should use a subtask. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe, drop a like if you get value out of this video, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comment section below. Let's jump into Jira and look at some examples. All right, so I'm going to go into a Jira project and I'm essentially just going to create a task. Now, when we're talking about tasks, I can actually click on that create button and you'll see that there's a task here. And so what this basically means is that a task in Jira is considered what they call a base issue type. That means that it's treated like a story and it's treated like a bug. An epic has its own category, which is called an epic. And then the subtask has its different category, which is called a subtask. But the regular task, just task by itself, the one with this little blue square with the white check mark, this is called a base. And this will function exactly like a story and a bug. And so you're presented with this dilemma of, so when do I use a story versus a task? And when do I use a task versus a subtask? The way I explain this is whenever you're going to deliver value to your customer. So whenever you're developing something, creating something of value, something that you're potentially going to sell, that should be a story. Because you got to remember, in Jira, a task and a story are siblings. So they're treated exactly the same. We just have extra issue types to kind of describe the differences of work. Now, the bug is very clear. The bug, even though they're siblings as well, the bug is usually very, very clear that it's for a defect, for something bad. But the story and a task don't usually have that big of a distinction. So, my recommendation to you is reserve the story for value added work, something that needs to get done, something that describes what needs to get done, but value added. And then we have our task, something that needs to get done, but has no value added. The output of a task is something you're not going to deliver to your customer. A task might not even have code committed against it. There might not even be a branch created for it. It still describes what, but I like to call it an unnecessary evil. It's something that needs to get done, but you're just not going to make any profit or revenue off of getting this thing done. Versus a story, you're going to package that into a release and you're going to ship that release and hopefully make some money for your company. So that's the differences between a task and a story and how Jira treats the task. Now, you'll notice that I can't create a subtask. And that's because Jira treats a subtask very uniquely as well. So this task is really at the same hierarchy level as a story. And Jira kind of treats them exactly the same. And I gave you my recommendation of one's value added, one's not value added. But when you think back at Agile and you're looking at the breakdown of how Agile treats an epic to a user story to a task, the Agile task is really the subtask in Jira. So whenever you're trying to do that triple tier hierarchy of you have your epic, your user story, and a task, what you really want is a subtask. Now, Jira does something clever here. You can't actually create a subtask as an orphan. You just can't click the create button and create a subtask. Every subtask must be tied to some sort of a parent issue. So all you need to do is go into like a story, and then you'll have the button to create the subtask. The subtask here is very powerful, but it has some drawbacks. The power is you can't have a subtask that is an orphan. So that's a really good thing because every subtask must be tied to a bigger purpose, must be tied to something a little bit more impactful. The subtasks also describe how something should be done. So the subtask is great to basically work as a to-do list so that your developers can kind of capture many requirements, if you will, many steps of what they're going to be doing to make this story come to life. And so it's a very much more intimate thing. It's not something that your scrum masters or your product owners should have too much influence over because the subtasks really do describe the technical details of how to build the thing, something that your product owner, your scrum master, other stakeholders are probably not qualified to do. But your developer or tech leads, they definitely have the technical knowledge to describe how they're going to implement a solution, something that should not be done by other folks other than the technical team that's going to be doing this work. The other thing, though, that you should keep in mind is when you do rely on subtasks, they will show up on the board. As you can see here, I have my story and I can see my subtask below it. And so this works really well because it works as a visual so that your team can be working off those subtasks. But what you don't get from the planning perspective, you don't get the subtask to show up on the backlog. And so this could be a little bit problematic for some scrum masters that don't understand that the subtasks aren't part of their domain. A subtask should not get planned into a sprint. And Jira does this and protects you because it won't actually show them to you. So if I take this chicken wings example here and I come over here and add a subtask 1, you'll notice that nothing happens. But the second I bring it into my sprint and then I go back to my board, you'll see that now I have, for my chicken wings, I got a subtask 1. And so this, now my developer can move across. And as an added bonus, when that subtask goes to done and all the other subsequent subtasks go to done, Jira is going to go, hey, do you want to update the parent because I noticed that you're done? So long story short is when you're thinking of a task and you're coming in from the world of Agile, you probably are not thinking of a task in Jira. What you're most likely thinking about is a subtask in Jira. So you want to go and leverage that. You want to reserve the regular task, the one that actually has a little check mark on it. You want to reserve that for non-value added work, and you want to balance it between value added and non-value added. Now that task is open to interpretation. You could do it for other things like tracking technical debt. You can do it for pretty much whatever else you want that isn't a user story. And also keep in mind, at any point, you can also add other issue types that will also behave as siblings of the story and the task. So if you wanted to track risks or whatever else you want, you can definitely do that in Jira as well. So anyways, that's it for this video. Hopefully this describes or brings a little bit more clarity into that confusion of what is a task, what's a subtask, when should I use one over the other, and how you can benefit from having both of them, because there is value in using all of these 3 items that I talked about today. So anyways, if you found value, please make sure you drop a like. If you're not subscribed by now and you've made it this far in the video, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out tremendously. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comment section below. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one.
It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now.